Hi, I just want to show a animation transfer tool that I've been working on. This is a tool that I put together to allow me to take animation from just about any skeleton, any mocap skeleton, and transfer that animation onto any rig that I have available. And I made it so that it's pretty configurable, very configurable through some JSON data file. Um, so let me just demo it real quick. So I have here a scene with a character rig, and I have a skeleton that I am referencing into the scene with some mocap animation. And I'm just going to go ahead and very quickly um, call my setup functions here. So basically what I'm doing now is I'm navigating to a folder where I have some data files already set up. And I'm going to choose this one. This is the latest one that I have configured. So just open it. Then the system reads the data file. The data file is really just a description to let the system understand what the relationship between the mocap skeleton and the rig should be. That way it knows how to create certain um, custom nodes in the background in order to do the motion transfer calculations and whatnot. But anyway, now that that's done, now I can scrub the timeline and see that the character rig is following the skeleton. And right now it's basically just a one-to-one transfer. But I know because this skeleton, the mocap skeleton that I brought in was the character that is obviously taller, different proportions, right? Slightly different legs, maybe slightly longer arms and whatnot. Um, I know that we can make some adjustments to start getting a little bit better of a transfer. So I'm going to go to a frame here that I can look at a pose to make better adjustments here. So I'm just going to scale down a little bit. Now the character looks a little bit closer to what the mocap skeleton pose looks like. And now when I scrub already, we get a little bit better result here, which would be, a shorter character will travel a shorter distance. Uh, you know, the jump height, is adjusted also, and the entire motion essentially is adjusted based on the character height there. Um, but we could also make some individual limb adjustments between arms and legs. I think for this particular transfer, it's pretty good as is, right? So I'm going to leave it alone. And I'm actually going to show another character. But before that, the next step, real simple. Oh, actually, before I do that, so another thing that I've been sort of experimenting with, playing around with a little bit is the idea of just being able to modify this, like the motion transfer itself in real time, right? Like before you actually bake it through. And right now, right, we can scrub it, it's following. Um, you can see I have these red markers, essentially just custom locators that are all throughout the mocap skeleton. So then I can essentially just start adjusting my posture or the character's posture a bit, and I don't know, I'm just gonna do something kind of random here. Just kind of bend uh, give it a little bit of a more of a hunchback posture and whatnot. And then when I scrub, you can see that posture still there all the way through. We can essentially just make adjustments to different parts of the transfer if we need to. I don't know, just a way to play around with it a bit. Um, this may not be necessary for the most part, but it might be interesting. It could lead to some interesting adjustments made to an animation before you actually bake it onto the skeleton, or I'm sorry, into the rig. Um, but anyway, yeah. So you know, next step will be just to go ahead and bake it. Bakes it, cleans up the mocap skeleton and any other supporting data in the background. And now there's just animation on the rig that we can then just take and keep adjusting and working on it normally, right? We can start adding animation layers and keep adjusting this and whatnot. Now, I want to show a different character, right? So this was essentially very humanoid skeleton onto a very humanoid rig. But I have a different rig. It's still humanoid, but it is different enough, right? Because so this character is much larger now than the original mocap skeleton over here, and it's a digitigrade setup as well, right? But again, this is one of the ease of use here. So I'm going to start my transfer, and I choose the same data file that I used before, because this is pretty generic, right? As long as your rig follows a certain structure, naming conventions and whatnot, you can just essentially have all that information included within the configuration file. That way the system understands, again, the relationship between mocap skeleton and rig. And it works intelligently, so it'll know what to do. But anyway, I run that. So now it created the connection in the background. So now it starts, trying to follow. Of course, this guy being so much larger than the original mocap skeleton, it looks a little weird at first. But let me turn off the X-ray skeleton so we can see that a little better. And I'm going to start making a few adjustments again. That pose lets me look at this a little bit better. I think this guy will take a little bigger step, of course. Um, both arms are a little longer, so I can increase the arm scale a little bit, slightly. And I think the legs should be okay as they are. Of course, there's a difference between the plantigrade and digitigrade, but it still transfers well enough. So now we have taller character, actually takes bigger steps, travels farther distance, jumps higher, whatnot. And again, we could always, try to kind of play around with making some adjustments right on the fly, right before we bake the skeleton or the animation over. And again, that gets baked, cleaned up, and now that animation exists right on the rig. That's it. Thank you.